The Xbox 360 was easily one of the most influential consoles from the 2000s all the way up to early 2010s, and to me, it was probably my favorite console of that generation, and just in general, it's my favorite console still today. At the moment, I often go back to the Xbox 360 and just play games on it because it just goes back to a simpler time of this where you could sit down, put a disc in, and the game just boots up. Whereas now you go for this sort of rigmarole of installing a game, the laborious things of like updates, that sort of thing. And patches and updates started with this generation, but they weren't as frequent as they are now. Sorry, and I feel this was kind of like the last simple console generation before games consoles started to try and sort of copy gaming PCs. And the 360 just has a library of games that are so cheap these days. And by the way, this isn't a budget video or anything like that. It's just I want to wax lyrical about one of my favorite consoles of all time, the Xbox 360, and it shaped me into the person or gamer that I am today, and it kickstarted my career in sort of gaming with written journalism when I started off writing reviews um, for my local newspaper back in 2010, I think it was, when I was about 17 years old, where I moved on to like websites, where I moved on to a blog, and I kind of continued that for years and went on to social media stuff after that. And now doing the past year doing video content on TikTok, and for about a month now or two, I think, at the time of recording this, on YouTube. And I have to say I much prefer doing the YouTube stuff. But anyway, I'm getting off track. Get off track. The Xbox 360, um, originally released in 2005. I was about how was I? I was about 12 years old when the 360 came out. I didn't get one until 2009, until my 16th birthday, and I feel at that point, 2009 was a pretty good time to get an Xbox 360 because there were just so many games on it at that point. I mean, you had Modern Warfare 2 coming out that year, and before that, you had games like Call of Duty 4, you had Halo 3, you had one of my favorite games in 2009 is Call of Juarez Bound in Blood, which I didn't include in the intro footage, but hey ho, here we are. You had Grand Theft Auto 4 already, you had the GTA DLCs coming at that point, and just so many games before, like games like Bioshock, The Darkness, and all sorts, and it's just such a great console. And yeah, I kind of just want to go over and talk about it with you lot. Like it's formed so many great memories, this console. It's how I made friends at sixth form when I first started my A levels in 2009, because we were all playing the same games like Halo 3, COD 4, and then like a month later, Modern Warfare 2 came out while I was studying my first year of A levels, and we all exchanged gamer tags, that sort of thing. And I feel you just don't get that sort of community with online games anymore. I feel like back in the day, you had to basically meet people in person to kind of like exchange like gamer tags and play online with them, whereas now you don't really have to. Um, I just love the simplicity of being able to sit down and just play games that weren't particularly long. Open world games were kind of far and few between. They were a dime a dozen. Just like being able to sit down, put the disc in, play a game like, because there are some games that I play on a yearly basis on the replay. Like I love replaying Call of Duty 4's campaign. Love that campaign. It's one of my favorite campaigns in FPS history, especially from that period. Just not the most complicated game to play, but it's really good. I've got all the achievements in the game as well, by the way, because I loved it that much. Halo 3 is another one that I love. Try and go back to that at least once a year. Bit of a longer campaign, but I remember playing through that game with three of my other friends, and we beat it on Legendary. Although I didn't beat one level on Legendary, I started like a few levels in with my friends, so I had to go back and do it on my own. That was hard because I kept getting killed by a chieftain with a gravity hammer all the time. But that was the other thing too. The achievement system really encouraged sort of replaying games and playing them on higher difficulties. I think this was the console generation that encouraged me to play a lot of games on higher difficulties, specifically FPS games. Beforehand, I would play on normal, easy, but the Xbox 360 really pushed me to play on harder difficulties, and even the hardest difficulties. I beat all the Gears of War games on insane difficulty on my own. I've beaten all the Call of Duty games on veteran difficulty. beat all the Halo games on the 360 on Legendary 2, and I just loved the challenge of it. And I don't do it as much these days because me being 32 years old, my reflexes aren't as sharp as they used to be when I was a 16-year-old. But I still play games on most FPS games on hard because I like doing that because I like the challenge. Will I play them on like the hardest setting? No, I just don't have the time, and I don't want my blood pressure to spike at my age. I'm joking, of course, but yeah, the 360. Let's sit down, talk about some games because, as I said in my other video, I don't like to stand up for too long in these videos, and it gives some variety in shots. So let's get to it, shall we? Now, I know I was going to talk about games, but I thought I'd go a bit more in depth with the hardware, nothing technical, anything like that. I'm just a simple man. I don't know much about, well, I know a bit about technical specs, but I think this was the generation where developers pushed the hardware to its limits. I mean, we had games like, we had Grand Theft Auto 5 on the 360. We had games like Max Payne 3. Seems to be like Rockstar mostly pushed the limits of the hardware. But that was also a detriment to the 360. And we had a lot of games that ran poorly. I'm not saying 30 FPS is poor, but a lot of those games struggled to stick to 30 FPS. And it was a bit of a downgrade in terms of performance compared to the PlayStation 2 generation, where a lot of games, there was a healthy balance. A lot of games ran at 60, but there were also games that ran at mostly a stable 30. But that doesn't mean the games were bad or anything. And for one, we got one of the best controllers ever. And to this day, I'd say the 360 controller is still my favorite controller. It's just easily the most comfortable. It's the most ergonomic sort of controller. This is the same controller I've had since 2010. And I still can't believe it still works. There's no drift of any kind, because drift, in terms of controller drift, wasn't really a thing back then. I mean, you had to really batter these things to get them to drift, these 360 controllers. I've never had any issues with them. Maybe it's because I take care of my stuff, who knows. But compared to like today with like the PS4, the Nintendo Switch, you didn't really get drift on these controllers at all. And it just still feels really good in my hands. It looks small, and my hands are quite big, and you'd think it'd be uncomfortable, but your hands just kind of just naturally wrap around the 360 controller. And even on a set of AA batteries, these things last for quite a long time. And I know even like back then, people kind of rolled their eyes. They're like, oh God, they're using AA batteries still. And you're just like, yeah, but they last for a pretty long time. In terms of like the console itself, I have here the slim model, which was released in, when was it released? Was it late 2009? I think it was late 2009, 2010, that sort of era, because the old white ones, they had a, let's go leave it like this. They had a bad habit of overheating, and the soldering on the motherboard used to come undone. And basically what people used to do, I don't know if I'll be able to find any archival footage to put on top of this. What we used to do, we used to wrap them in, I think it's like we wrap them in towels and cover up all the fan ports. And it was just a sort of bodge way of resoldering the motherboard back on, because the adhesive and the soldering was just so poorly done on the old 360 from 2005 to 2008. And those models didn't even have HDMI ports on them. And there was about a 90-odd% fail rate on the old ones. The slim ones, however, they're great, they're quiet. The old 360s, the white ones, by the way, like the 2005 era ones, they were also quite noisy too with the disk drive. These ones, not so much. If you're going to get one, I recommend getting one of these. If you can't find one, there's the next one along called the 360E, which kind of resembles an Xbox One, and that's what they wanted to do at the time. But this one, this one's the best model to get. Try not to get the glossy one, because that's a scratch and fingerprint magnet. This is the matte finish, which is absolutely flawless. I've had this one since 2000 and, when did I get it? Was it 2018? I think I got it. I got it from my brother when he was clearing his house out when he was moving, because my old white one, the disc tray kept getting stuck, and the only way you could have it open if it was a disc in it all the time and you lay it flat like this. Those models had a problem with disc trays getting stuck all the time, because the rubber bands on the trays, they wore out very quickly, and they were cheaply made, and it was just a pain in the arse. Yeah, but these ones, best one to have, easily the best one to have if you're thinking about starting a 360 collection or that sort of thing, because everyone goes, oh, you can just get a Series X or an Xbox One /One X and play 360 games. But the caveat to that is that not all 360 games are backwards compatible and playable on those systems, whereas if you've got one of these, you can play all 360 games, and even some original Xbox games, although original Xbox emulation, bit dodgy on this, like certain games won't run properly or they'll have audio issues. One that comes to mind is Munch's Odyssey. It has some very odd audio issues if you play it through backwards compatibility, but yeah, in general, if you want to play 360 games, just get 360 because, like I said, Xbox One won't play all of them. So yeah, anyway, we will get into the games now after talking about the hardware. Now let's talk about games. These are my personal choices, obviously, but these are the sort of games I think about when I think about booting up the Xbox 360. Games I think they're sort of quintessential in the collection if you plan on starting a collection for the 360 or just want some recommendations, but these are all quite cheap. I think these are all like, except for like a couple of special editions which I have got of certain games. But let's get into this one. This is probably easily one of like the most standout titles for the platform, The Elder Scrolls IV: Oblivion. My favorite game in the series. I remember seeing this for the first time in 2007 when my friend was playing on PlayStation 3. I didn't know what the name of the game was at the time because I didn't ask him, and because he was just playing like a medieval RPG at the time, and I was like, oh, that game looks cool, because he was exploring Bravil, easily like one of the nicest places in Tamriel, not Bravil, but yeah, Oblivion is easily one of the best games in the series. The world still holds up. It holds a special place in my heart. I just love the sort of like the whimsy, the magicalness of the adventure in the game, and I remember the first time when you exit the sewers in the game. I won't repeat myself too much because I've already talked about this game enough online through TikTok and all sorts, and I think I had talked about it here on YouTube through my favourite games of all time. But the first time you open the sewers and you see like the world in front of you, it's still awe-inspiring nearly 20 years later with this game. It's still like, whoa. And yeah, okay, you play it now, you go, oh, it looks a bit dated. Some people be like, oh, why don't you play the remaster instead? Which I have played the remaster and I like it, but I think the art style is better in this one. The remaster kind of loses the colourful art style from this one. But yeah, Oblivion, if you're looking for like hours of entertainment, easily one of the best games to have. There's a lot of shooters in this pile here. The 360 was like pretty well known for first and third person shooters because of games like Call of Duty and Gears of War. People tried to throw their hat in the ring with their own sort of interpretation of the genre. This one is probably easily one of the most unique, and that's The Darkness, based on the comic book series of the same name. It's a first-person shooter, but with a bit of a twist, where you control a demon called, well, The Darkness, the titular name. Basically, you have like tendrils sticking out your shoulders. I've read some of the comics, really good. You play as a mob hitman called Jackie Estacado, and he gets possessed by the darkness on his 21st birthday. And at first you think like, oh, cool, a hitman with demon powers is really useful, but he is cursed with it until the darkness is done with his host, which, if you don't know, when he's done with his host, he kills them, that sort of thing. But Jackie, throughout the story, learns how to harness the darkness and keep it under control, and it stays with him over the years all the way into the second game. There's 2 games on the 360, but this one has the better story. The dark and dingy art style is really, really, really good, and the voice acting, even for now, is still fantastic. You get Jackie's monologues throughout, like when you go into loading screens and different levels. He will talk about like the area he's in or like the people he's about to talk to. You get a really good sense of familiarity with Jackie throughout the story because of those monologues, and it's typical mob stuff with a sort of horror fantasy twist, but it's just really entertaining, engaging. Up next is sort of like a horror first-person game, and that's Condemned: Criminal Origins. This came out this same year as the 360. It might have been even a launch title. Really good, made by Monolith Productions, unfortunately, who got shut down, I think, earlier this year at the time of recording this. They were known for making really good first-person shooters. Their other good first-person shooter is Fear, which I don't have in this pile. It's behind me, though, on the shelf. Condemned was really good. Think of it as like a video game interpretation of the film Seven, where you're following a serial killer and you do investigatory sort of crime scene investigations, but it's first-person melee combat. and it's fantastic. You really feel like every blow, every crunch when you break someone's arm, their leg with a lead pipe. There are guns in the game, but they're very limited, and you only get like a few shots. You can't reload them. It emphasizes melee combat, and you can rip like junction boxes off the wall and use like the pipe of the wiring as a weapon, or just like lead pipes that you find on the wall. You can tear things off the wall, that sort of thing. It's really nuts. But the caveat to that is that your enemies can do the same thing, and it's each encounter is sort of really sort of fatal almost every time. Every time you get into an encounter, because if you're fighting one person, it's fine, but when you're fighting two people, it gets really intense, and it's brutal, it's violent, it's dark. Again, the voice acting's really good for a game that's 20 years old this year, and this is probably the best way to play it, because this is also backwards compatible on the Series X and S and the Xbox One, so yeah. Up next, another FPS game. I told you there's a lot of FPS games in this list. Western themed, Call of Juarez Bound in Blood. This is a series that I want Techland to go back to. They own the rights to it now. They bought it back from Ubisoft a few years ago. First-person Western narrative shooter, really good. Came out in 2009. Yeah, 2009. I remember buying this in 2009. It was one of the first games I wanted for the 360. Really good story. It's a prequel to the first one, where you play as Ray and Thomas McCall. You can switch between the two in each level. How it sort of differs though, Ray's more of a tank and he can dual wield pistols. Thomas is more agile and he's better with rifles and he can use bows and arrows, that sort of thing. But the narrative is really good. Voice acting is mostly good. It has a few hokey instances, but bear in mind this is made by a Polish studio and this is one of their early work, so all the voice acting in general is all right. It's all good for the most part, and the shooting feels good. It's over the top and it's just good Western story fun. I'm going to throw these two together because they're from the same series, and that's Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare 2. Easily one of the most influential games on the system for the online multiplayer. Call of Duty 4 I remember playing a lot, but Modern Warfare 2 I remember playing the most. I remember this was a big deal in 2009 when it came out. So many people were playing it. I mean, people who didn't really play video games were playing Modern Warfare 2. I mean, maybe your mum was playing Modern Warfare 2. I don't know, but yeah, it was just such an influential game and like such a big deal. I remember people lining outside of shops for this thing. I wasn't. I bought this online at the time. I remember making friends at school, as I said, through sixth form, as I said in the intro of this video. Putting so many hours into this game when it came out, from like 2009, 2010, that era. And I think my last time I checked my playtime, I checked it when I booted my 360 up. I had 13 days on the multiplayer. Yeah, I used to remember playing this till like 1, 2 in the morning when I was younger, and it was just a blast playing this online multiplayer. Controversial at the time too with the campaign, with the no rush and stuff. But if you look back at it today, it's pretty tame compared to the stuff we've seen in games, but easily two of the best first-person shooters on the platform. More of a sort of open world game and still an FPS game, but that's Far Cry 2. Bit of a departure. It was the first game that Ubisoft, first proper stab at the series from Ubisoft, and they made it more open world. I'll take this off because this is a really lovely steelbook version that I found in the charity shop. Yeah, it's not to everyone's taste. I like it personally. It's probably one of my personal favorites in the series. I love the atmosphere where it's set in Africa. The weapon durability, again, I know it's not everyone's favorite, but I argue it's quite thematic and appropriate to the setting you're in, where guns aren't, they're not the best condition in that sort of area, and it adds a layer of tensity to gunfights. So like you can jam your gun in a firefight, or it will just, if it's too far gone, it will just randomly blow up in your hand in the middle of a firefight, which always sends off a really tense sort of screams in my mind. But yeah, really love it. I wish Ubisoft would port this to modern platforms. This is backwards compatible, but for PlayStation users, they don't really have a way to play Far Cry 2, and I would argue it's a very influential game and kickstarted the series as we know it, and I love it, absolutely love it. Up next is a Microsoft game, Fable 2. Fable 2 is great. What can I say? It was one of the first games I bought for my Xbox 360. I remember buying this with Dead Space 1 in 2009 from an old retro shop that used to be in Bristol called Pink Planet Games. No longer there, it went years ago, but I remember used to go there all the time to get new 360 games. And yeah, this was one of the games. How I didn't get ID for Dead Space when I was only about 16 years old, I have no idea, because that game's an 18. But here we are. Great RPG, not particularly complicated. It's a pretty linear affair in terms of RPGs. Great voice acting, lots of famous British actors and actresses and comedians in this game. You've got Zoe Wallermaker, who narrates the story, and it's just so good, so British, like myself. I'm going to throw these two in together because they're both made by Rockstar Games. GTA 4, Max Payne 3. These two games, they push the 360 and the PlayStation 3 to their limits. GTA 4 has so much detail, as does Max Payne 3. Max Payne 3 was stuck in development hell for so long, and one of my favourite third-person shooters on the platform. I play this once a year. I play this once a year too, because they're just so good. Love Nico's story, his rags to riches story, pretty typical, but from the point of view of an Eastern European immigrant. Quite political. Same with Max Payne 3, it could be quite political at times. Both uberly violent, but great games nonetheless. Up next is a Max Payne clone, and that's John Woo's Stranglehold. This was John Woo's attempt to get into video games. It's a sequel to Hard Boiled. Great film, by the way, and great game too. Not particularly long game. I think it's about 6 hours. I bought this years ago. I think I found it for like £1, and best £1 I ever spent. It's just an over-the-top action game. You're diving across tables, sliding down banisters with dual pistols, or my favourite is when you find a tea tray and you dive onto it and you just roll along and just gun everyone down. It's an over-the-top action game, sort of adapting the sort of 1980s over-the-top nature of those sort of movies, and of course John Woo's own movies, who he was a producer on the game and also has a cameo in the game. They were going to make a sequel to this back in the day, but unfortunately this game didn't sell too well. I don't think it reviewed particularly well either. It got pretty average reviews, but I don't know why. It's just quite good. This one, probably like the best deal ever in gaming, and that's the Orange Box. Best way to play Half-Life 2 is through this on console. Don't play the PS3 version of Half-Life 2 on this, because it takes forever to load in some sections and there are more loading screens. But not only that, it has Team Fortress 2, Portal, and Half-Life 2 Episode 1 and 2 on it, all on one disc, bizarrely. I bought this in 2009. I played it on PC originally when it came out, the Orange Box. But yeah, it's just the best way to play Half-Life 2, and Half-Life 2 is still one of my favourite first-person shooters of all time. It still kind of baffles me that Valve haven't re-released Half-Life 2 or Half-Life 1 in any capacity on consoles or newer consoles for years. I wish they would, but they just seem to be quite stubborn about the Half-Life series in general at the moment, and yeah, easily great package. This one's really good. Open world game, highly recommend it. And the last game in the series we've seen since, and that's Driver San Francisco. Released in 2011, this had a 5-year production cycle, for good reason. Lots of licensed cars. The amount of dialogue in this game, it has more dialogue than Mass Effect, and you might sort of like raise your eyebrows at that and go, how does a racing game have more dialogue than Mass Effect? And I kind of scoffed at it a bit when I heard about that when it came out. But the reason for that is the shift mechanic. Basically, John Tanner, he's in a coma in this one, and he has this ability where he can shift into any car he wants to in the map. So basically, he hops out of a car in his sort of like soul-like state, and he can possess any driver. The caveat of that is that there could be a passenger in another seat, and there's this sort of randomized nature of the dialogue of that, where there could be a passenger in the other seat, and the writers had to kind of like factor that in, and they came up with all sorts of weird characters. Like you could possess someone who's on a driving test, and the driving instructor is like, "Oh my god, you're driving like a maniac," or someone taking out an expensive sports car for a test drive, that sort of thing. It adds to a lot of humorous moments in this game when you find like different passengers. But the driving's good. The open world setting of San Francisco is amazing. The licensed music's really good. The story is really good and out there too, and I love it. It's a shame Ubisoft just haven't made a driver game since, and I just don't know why. Up next is, this is one of the special editions, by the way, Gears of War 2, easily the best game in the series. I bought this special edition from a charity shop for £2, and it goes for like a tenner in CEX, and I had to grab it. It's in really good condition. I couldn't believe it. This is before I moved to Norfolk. I found it in a charity shop near my dad's. It was like £2. It looked like it's never been touched. Comes with this really cool steel book, has like the photo of Dom and his wife in it, that sort of thing. Yeah, Gears of War 2, easily like one of the best games in the franchise. Art book too. It took the foundation of the first game and elevated it to 11, and you had like better animations, you had better hit detection with weapons, you had the chainsaw duels when you got locked in, because in the first game when you got locked into, like, when someone tried to chainsaw you, there was no way to counter it, whereas in the second one they had a chainsaw duels where you had to tap B rapidly, which I never won in online multiplayer. I don't know, maybe people had turbo controllers all the time. I'm just going to say they're cheating. But yeah, the story was really good, quite emotional in parts with Dom. If you know, you know. Won't spoil it if you haven't played it, even though it's nearly a 20-year-old game. But the addition to Horde mode, was really cool, where you and another friend could take on waves upon waves of enemies, which that became a trend during the Xbox 360 generation of like Horde-based shooters. Lots of FPS and third-person shooters started adding in Horde modes into their game, and that's attributed to Gears of War 2. And yeah, stunning game, even all this time. Next special edition I found this for £2. I think it was in a charity shop. It was a Halo 3. Halo 3 is easily like the game to describe the Xbox 360. I remember in 2007 going around friends' houses playing split screen 4-player. Some of them did these massive LAN parties where they have loads of televisions together, loads of 360s plugged in, and we were all playing like 16 players in the same room. Back when you could play with other friends, and if you insulted them, they could slap you around the back of the head. None of this thing where they'll block you or whatever online. Nope, if you insult someone in the same room, they'll smack you around the back of the head, give you a slap. That, or they'll slap the controller out your hand. But yeah, Halo 3, great campaign. As I said in the intro, I beat this on Legendary with my friends. Yeah, easily. It was kind of like the last hurrah of the classic Halo style before Reach. I like Halo Reach personally, but I know I can understand the sort of, if I get this open, the criticisms of Halo Reach, because they try to be like Call of Duty. The game's there, different manual as well with this version, and yeah, I understand that because they try to be more like Call of Duty. And yeah, really nice art book here. It's upside down, if I can get it open. But yeah, they tried to ape Call of Duty with loadouts, where it was less about map control and about like the best loadout, that sort of thing. But yeah, Halo 3 is so good. And yeah, those are the games I talked about. So yeah, that's the Xbox 360. Quite a long video, I feel, this one. Thanks for listening to me ramble, that sort of thing. I just feel the Xbox 360, it does get a lot of praise and love, and that's for good reason, because it was easily the most influential console of the era. The PS3 was also good as well, but I didn't grow up with that console as a teenager. I didn't get one of those until later. But digressions aside, thank you so much for watching this. Just a bit of a side note, side tangent at the end of this video. I've been enjoying this YouTube journey, doing more long form content, and I've been enjoying the feedback. You lot have been very supportive, been critical in a balanced and constructive way. No nonsense yet in terms of trolls and people just trying to rile me up, which it wouldn't rile me up anyway. But you lot so far, I mean, at the time of recording this, got like 71 subscribers. I mean, that sounds really sort of like, oh, I've got 71 subscribers, but it's humble beginnings. I'm trying my best. These longer videos are really good. I love putting them together, and hopefully you'll subscribe for more. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and again, like and subscribe for my stuff, and my socials will be down below, and I'll see you all later. See you later. Bye.